Welcome to Gaming Rarities. I'm Dan. Thank you so much for clicking and for watching. I hope you're doing okay. And today we have another episode of the CEX Rarities Review. So in case you're new around here, on this series we visit two CEX stores, normally ones I've never visited before, and we go and check out firstly their retro section, then we have a look at all the shelves, see if we can find any steelbooks or cardboard sleeves or box games for the regular price. Then we ask them if they've got any more behind the counter, and then we give them a score out of 10. This is normally based on store cleanliness, staff helpfulness, general aura, and at the end, you'll see where the new stores square up against all the other stores we've visited so far. This week's episode, slightly different, although there is two stores. The first one being Boscombe, one I have not ever visited before. The second one is Norwich. It is my local store, and it is one I used to visit many times. But I'm sure you've seen the title to this video. I don't go there very much anymore. I will explain everything when we get to that one. But firstly, today is Boscombe. Boscombe is located basically in Bournemouth. Let's go and have a look and see what they had. So up first, the Boscombe store. It is in a shopping centre, and walking up to the window, as you can see, there is a Need for Speed on the 360, the expensive one. But overall, it was a pretty disappointing window. Not much going on in this display in terms of retro. The highlight probably being the Pokemon XD in there. Walking into the store, it's a kind of box style store. It's kind of square shaped. Let's have a look at the retro. So there's quite a decent selection of PS1 games. Metal Gear Solid there. Also got some Sega Saturn. And there's the Dreamcast. Moving up to the expensive 360 section, a few decent ones in there. When we drop it down, there's the Master System and a couple of Mega CD games as well. Then they had some boxed Game Boy games. There's a Phoenix Wright 3DS game there. And then, yeah, some Pokemon stuff. Then they had some SNES, box SNES. Another one you don't see too often on the N64 is this Pokemon puzzle game. £95. I thought it was more expensive than that, but maybe I'm thinking of the Game Boy version. Heading over to the shelves then, we have a couple of pieces of PS2 cardboard on the shelves, not something you see in every store, but up first with this Need for Speed, and it was pretty battered, awful condition. If you're a regular of the channel, you know I obviously already have all of the PS2 cardboard released in the UK, so no need for that, or the Tomb Raider here. Although the Tomb Raider was in much better condition. If I didn't have it, I definitely would have picked that up. Some more cardboard here. The GTA double pack on the Xbox, a very popular piece of cardboard. See this one quite often. Same can be said about this Borderlands 2 sleeve, another one I see quite often. And again, a sleeve is a sleeve, so I'll show you it, but it's just a Pro Evo sleeve on the PS3. See those all the time. Talking about all the time, again, we've got Tomb Raider, PS4, see that one all the time, and this 2 Point Campus is cardboard I see nearly every store I go to. And talking about nearly every store, the Hitman Steelbook gotta be the most popular steelbook out there. Over to the Xbox section, they had this Fallout 76 sleeve, which I do already own. And again, talking about already owned, the only steelbook I found on the shelves was this Forza Motorsport 5, not in the best condition. So I did leave that behind. And that was the Boscombe store. It was in kind of a rundown type of shopping mall type place. Not the best, quite easy to get to. There was a parking garage there, so parked, walked in, walked out again, wasn't there for very long. Again, for only the second time in this series, I did not pick anything up from the Boscombe store. They did have a few bits that were kind of borderline, as you saw. I could have picked some up, but I've either already got them or they were in terrible condition. Highlights for me, I did see stereotypically when I was looking kind of behind the counter, there was a massive crate of Monster behind there that I saw, which did make me chuckle. But yeah, I didn't have to deal with the staff, so it's tough to give them a review, but they didn't seem to keep anybody waiting. It was a fairly decent sized store. There was kind of things all over the shelves, like things that didn't belong, so kind of some PS2 in with like PS4, things like that. But it was quite late in the day, so I can't really blame the staff for not sorting that out. Overall, nothing spectacular, not really anything special in this store, but they did nothing wrong, and yeah, so I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10. Next up today is my local store in the fine city of Norwich. Now, as I've said, there has been some issues in this shop for me previously. We will get to that. I know I've said banned. I'm not technically banned. I can still go in the shop, but I'll explain once we've looked at the footage. Talking about the footage, there is a pickup I got on here that was not in the footage. I got it when I got to the counter and somebody was trading it in next to me. They traded it in and then I bought it straight after because it looked decent. I didn't really know that much about it. I still don't, to be honest, so you might be able to teach me a few things here. But let's have a look at the footage. So walking up to the store, the Norwich store is on the main high street in Norwich. It's a pretty large store. It's got 2 floors, DVDs are all upstairs, games all downstairs, and up first there's an expensive Cabela's game for the Wii in the window. But looking at the retro section, there is some PS2 bangers there. And yeah, a piece of PS2 cardboard for just £1 in the window there. May have to pick that one up. Then over to the Nintendo cardboard section here, and honestly, Norwich always has an incredible retro section here. It seems to go on forever. There's a PS1, Dreamcast, there's some more boxed Game Boy stuff there, and a boxed Virtual Boy game there, something that I don't see too often on my travels. Then we've got the GameCube section, the big hitters for that, and then some Mega CD and Sega Saturn, and a big selection of bangers for the Xbox 360. Dropping down again, we've got some Master System and then some Mega Drive. Big selections for everything. Again, incredible retro section always at the Norwich store. Heading over to the shelves, we've got the PS4 section. Starting off, we've got a couple of F1 sleeves here. Nothing too incredible. But Norwich is a store that has the steelbooks all behind the counter, but they do put these kind of fake cases on the shelves to indicate they have a steelbook in stock, so you can take it up and ask about it. There's Persona, and then we've got a few more steelbooks. So there was a Tintin one. Obviously can't see the condition until you take these up to the counter either. The Street Fighter. Now, they had a big selection here of the Lego sleeves. I already have the full set, so I didn't pick any of these up, but there was quite a few all over the PS4 and the Xbox. I think the Incredibles was the last one I needed, and that was here today, so obviously I already got it. But yeah, left those behind, but still good to see. And that was it for the Norwich store on this trip. As I said, I did pick up 2 items. One you will have seen in the footage, one you will not. Up first, I just couldn't leave this behind. SOCOM US Navy SEALs with the headset, although it says no headset on the sticker, and this was just £1. So as you're seeing, it does say headset damaged written on the sticker on the back, but I already own this cardboard. It is in storage with all the other boxed kind of iToys and headsets, everything like that. I had to move to storage just because I don't have much room. But yeah, it's in decent condition, the cardboard. Really often you see these and they are absolutely battered. They don't hold their structure very well, but this one looks okay. Minor dings on the cardboard, but yeah, probably an upgrade to the one I have. I will have to check the one I have got in storage at some point. But yeah, for £1, I was never ever going to leave this one behind. Now, as I was paying for that and looking at a couple of steelbooks, which by the way were and nothing I really wanted, although they did have a few, but nothing I wanted to pick up today, either too expensive or not in the best condition. I saw somebody trading in some stuff next to me, and this I'd not seen before, and I asked how much it was because it didn't have a price on it because it had just been taken in, and they said £15. Didn't look it up or anything. I just saw and I thought, yeah, I think that's going to be worth it. So I picked it up. This is Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE on the Wii U. And this is the same price as just the game on its own, but it is the Fortissimo edition. And as you see, the cardboard is in excellent shape. And inside, obviously, we've got the game, and there is an art book and a CD and some cards, all sorts of extra bits for just the regular price. Again, I still haven't looked this up or anything. I don't really collect Wii U, but it just looked decent, and it looks like something that would be worth more than what I paid for it. £15 seemed like a good deal, so I picked it up. Let me know if it's worth much more than that. As again, I still haven't looked at all. I just literally put it in the bag, seen the receipt, £15 paid. Let me know what you think of that one. So, rating for the Norwich store. Now, this is where it becomes difficult because, as I said, I used to go in there multiple times a week on occasion, as it is my local store, and I had a bit of an incident in there last year which resulted in me getting some restrictions put on my account, but only for that store. So let's talk about the Norwich store then. It's about time I told the story. I've not told this story before on this channel, but I'm going to say it now because we visited the store where the incident occurred, and I have had restrictions put on my account due to this store. It's only for this store, which is kind of odd. I believe the Norwich store is a franchise store, so the restrictions only apply if I go to the Norwich store. I can go to any other store and have no problems. Although there is a pop-up that comes up when my membership card is scanned in any store, and quite often I get the staff, if it's not a manager or somebody who's not seen that type of thing before, often the staff will have to go and ask a manager if it's okay to take stuff off me. And the managers normally are just like, yeah, it's fine. And it's just a pop-up, I believe. Obviously, I've never seen it because I'm never that side of the counter, but I'm led to believe it says something about the incident that occurred, which we will talk about now. I'm going to try and condense it down as much as I can, so not waste too much of your time. But basically, when my daughter was born, I didn't just have this room. I had a whole spare room, a whole bedroom sized room, and it was full of stuff. Now, my games room now is basically a glorified cupboard. It's not very big at all. Room is constantly a problem. But at the time, I obviously had to downsize significantly. And this led to multiple trips, 3 in fact. And each time I went, I did a drop and go at the Norwich store. You know those see-through containers about so big, the plastic ones? I filled one of them up every time, and I did 3 separate drop and goes, and they normally had 1 or 2 consoles in, maybe a handheld or 2, and the rest was just games. But the value normally went from kind of between £200 to £300 worth of voucher. First 2 trips, absolutely fine. On the last trip, the 3rd trip, I took the box in as usual. There was also a bag accompanying it, a CEX bag this time. Did the drop, no problem at all. The guy took the stuff, no worries, left the store as usual. Later that afternoon, a few hours later, I get a call, which if anyone's done a drop and go before, a call is fairly normal if something's failed a test or they say they can't take a disc because it's too scratch, anything like that. So no problem, answer the call. And the guy on the other end of the call just instantly went off accusing me of having multiple accounts, which is not possible. I mean, I don't know how I would have had multiple accounts. And he kind of was going along the lines that I was defrauding the company by having multiple accounts. To which obviously I said, well, this isn't true. I then took it to the level of, well, if somebody's impersonating me and I've got multiple accounts, then I want the police involved because this is ridiculous. You know, I've not done anything wrong here. And then they kind of backtracked. And what it turned out was that every time I did a drop and go, which was quite regularly, I was getting that for some reason it was almost like a duplicate account was being made every time. So I had like 30 different accounts apparently on this system, which it then came out later on that it was clearly a clerical issue on their end and not my fault. However, they used this as an excuse to give me what they call a trader discount, or trader account, maybe. I don't know what they call it there. And so basically, if I take anything into the Norwich store, they will have to call head office or email head office, wait for a response from them to A, ask if it's okay for them to take it in, and B, they will give me a trader discount. So I think it was 25% off the trade-in value. So if it traded in for £10 voucher, they would only give me a £7.50 voucher. All this because I took 3 boxes of stuff in. I even explained the situation, and bear in mind, I used to go in there all the time, so they knew who I was. And yeah, I would trade a few, you know, a CEX bag full of games in every month probably, but nothing major, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing you don't see people like, you know, Retro Rummage or Gentlemen of Games. Those people trading in stuff all the time. Nothing on their level. It was just so basic. But it turns out that the manager there, who is still a manager there to this day, has had problems with just people, and he seems to be, I don't know, not very, what's the word? I don't want to say anything nasty, but he's not very forthcoming when it comes to people who regularly trade stuff in, if that makes sense. I've got a friend who has had the exact same treatment from that guy for not a lot of stuff either. It just seems like he has a bee in his bonnet about that type of thing, and is quick to kind of throw down the trader hammer. So obviously you're not going to trade stuff in at 25% off. It becomes really not worth it. That being said, I can obviously still go into the store. I can still buy stuff from the store. And as I said, I can go to any other store. I've not had any problem with any other store I visit. And I've always been able to trade stuff in at the regular price at any other store across the country. So banned, no, but restrictions, yes. And obviously I'll never trade in anything at the Norwich store again. I tried contacting customer support about the whole matter, and they're the ones who clarified that it was a clerical error their end about the multiple account thing. But in terms of the amount of stuff I traded in, they said that was the issue with the reasoning behind me having the restrictions put on my account. I've not argued any more about it. I tried it about 6 months later after I'd been to another store and saw that I could still trade stuff in with no restrictions. I then went back and said, and they tried it just for 2 games, and they had to email. It was 2 Switch games, and they had to email. Even the guy said it was a joke behind the counter, but restrictions are restrictions, and that's the rules, and that's what I have to go by now. And it is very annoying, as I said, because it is my local store, and I used to frequent it all the time, but I have to go further afield now. But it's not the end of the world. I do have other stores near me, but it is annoying that I can't do it at the store I used to enjoy going to the most. Because as you saw in the footage, they do have an incredible selection at the Norwich store. The retro is always insane. They always have a really full 2 massive glass counters, and they're always full of good stuff. And invariably, nearly every visit I go to, I always find some good stuff on the shelves because it's such a busy store. Queues always, even with lots of staff, there's always massive queues. But for the CEX Rarities review, I only score it on the visit I have on the day. So let's talk about that. Store cleanliness is okay. It's not great, but it's not bad. It always is. You get CEX stores that sometimes do have a bit of a pong about them. And this is one of them. It always does have a bit of a flavour to it, should we say. Obviously not the staff's fault necessarily, but it's the clientele. Obviously it's normally the issue, but yeah, you do get that sometimes in this store. Staff, however, on this trip I got a really nice guy who was happy to show me anything in the counter, because obviously I had to go to get the £1 PS2 cardboard. And yeah, he was very helpful, showed me some steelbooks in the back, no problem at all. Had a good chat with him actually. He's knowledgeable about games and stuff as well, so yeah, nice guy, good staff member today. Let's talk about aura. So obviously I have a slight negative aura about the Norwich store due to the treatment of me in the past, but today it was okay. I do still feel a bit off just walking in there in general, but overall it is a good store, unfortunately for me. Saying that because I'm annoyed now that I can't go there all the time, but it is a good store. Do always have good stuff on show, do always get treated okay. The staff can be a bit hit and miss sometimes, but today they were great. So I'm going to have to give the Norwich store an 8 out of 10. And there is the Boscombe store and the Norwich store on the list of stores I've visited so far. And that's it for today on the CEX Rarities review. Thank you so much for clicking and for watching. We'll see you again next time.